Rock and roll mom is something that like is very much the forefront of your persona or your image. So what I guess are the assets and the challenges and the things you like highlighting about being a rock and roll mom?
That's a great question. It can be hard sometimes in the sense that, you know, my daughter is a toddler, so she's young enough where she still needs like a whole lot of attention. So it can be tough to juggle like whenever I want to write or like do music and she just wants me to pay attention to her. But at the same time, I think the process has forced me to be a little more deliberate about carving out time for art. I have to structure it a little more rigidly. I'm a very spontaneous songwriter, so like whenever, you know, it used to be whenever I started to write or I got an idea about something, I'd just start to write. But I can't really do that anymore, so I have to be deliberate about, okay, she's napping, I have this like song idea I want to expand on, let's go do it now. And so it's been an exercise in making space for art, which I think has actually led to better quality work. And also, you know, my daughter knows the word guitar. She knows what a guitar is, and she wants me to play the guitar pretty often, and I can get her to strum it like this. It's kind of awesome.
That's fantastic. So that's how your child influences your art. How did your childhood influence your art?
My childhood, my childhood in terms of art was kind of boring in a way. Neither of my parents are artistically inclined. So I had to kind of seek that out myself, but they had a pretty good record collection. My dad was actually a DJ at Pitt whenever he went to Pitt, whenever it was an AM station, WPGH. Mm-hmm. And so he still had all of his records, and they had a record player, so he had everything from like Fleetwood Mac and The Doors and like a bunch of other stuff, James Taylor, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Like he had all those records, and I'd say that probably formidably influenced what kind of music initially inspired me, for sure, you know, since I was listening to those at such a young age. In addition, this is going to sound stupid, but I don't know, like I grew up going to Disney World all the time. And just fostering an idea of like that imagination is a good thing, mm-hmm. and that you should think and stuff like that. And you know, I kind of got a few years in before it got overly consumerist there.
So it sounds like a lot of those things from your childhood have actually like found their way into lyrical themes or just sort of like ideas behind your music and how you approach it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I'd say stylistic choices, you know, from listening to so much classic rock, they're still very present in my music, like the vocal harmonies. That comes from listening to like Fleetwood Mac and America, you know, like just those nice, well-crafted 3-part harmonies. Sure. Definitely still highly inform stylistic choices.
So you were in New York for a while,
mm-hmm.
right? And did you start your music career before heading out there, or?
Well before,
okay.
Yeah. So I grew up here. I was born and raised here. But once I finished up at Pitt, I just wanted to do something else. So I got into NAU, Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, and kind of ran off there for a couple years and stuff. And then ended up going to New York a couple years later. But I actually started music. God, I mean, I've been performing out pretty regularly since my early teens. You know, coffee shops.
So you did start your music career in Pittsburgh?
Yes, I did.
Right. So, and because when you came back, it was sort of like you, just from my perspective, you were just immediately here. It was like not, here's this person lurking on the outside, which usually happens with an artist who's new in Pittsburgh. And you were just like, you made a splash. Like, was that a conscious effort on your part to like, I'm going back to Pittsburgh and I'm going to just dive headfirst into the scene?
Yeah, it was a pretty conscious effort. And, you know, I made sure that before I got here to reach out to people who I'd known for a really long time. I've known Brad Yoder since my mid-teens. We were on like a compilation together for something. And Eric George I've known for a really long time. And Nathan Zub I met about 7 or 8 years ago whenever Acoustic Cafe was still a club cafe. Because I dropped in whenever I was in town one time, and that was it.
Nice. Yeah. Have there been any very obvious comparisons between the scenes like in New York and Pittsburgh, or, you know, that have been prevalent for you? Anything you've noticed that when you're here making music in Pittsburgh, you're like, oh, it's a little different in New York, for better or for worse?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd say they're totally different. I mean, I think the most obvious comparison is size. I mean, Pittsburgh is literally 1/20th the size of New York, and Pittsburgh's not an industry hub like New York is. There aren't a whole lot of labels that are headquartered here. You know, you don't have film and TV to the extent here. So I think those kind of inform the music scene in New York, or the entertainment scene in New York. So size is a big one. Industry hub. People seem a lot more hell-bent on branding there, which for better or for worse, I mean, I think that can have a very mixed result. But, you know, there are people that are like hell-bent on making it, as it were, in New York. And I think there's more of a mixed bag here in Pittsburgh, that some people are very serious about it and others just want to play the circuit, and that's fine. And so I feel like what's nice about here is that there's room for more than one way of doing things, which is nice.
So it sounds like at your heart you consider yourself like a Pittsburgh musician, or do you not prefer those kinds of labels, like you're just a musician?
I wouldn't call myself a Pittsburgh musician. I'd call myself a musician who's based in Pittsburgh.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
For sure.
Because it doesn't define like your sound or your approach, but you just sort of by happenstance are in Pittsburgh. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. That's very cool. But you're appearing at the Deutschtown Music Festival?
I am.
Okay, and what stage, what time?
So I'm going to be Saturday, July 14th at Artist Image Resource, which is going to be an awesome stage. I'm going on at 4 p.m. And like everybody on my stage is awesome, so I'm really psyched about it.
Very cool. Who else is showing up there?
Ty Charosky is going to be there. Zach Keim, Chet Vincent, I believe Sadie, I think, is on my stage too.
That's a great stage.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be like awesome.
So what else do you have coming up that you want to plug? What projects are you working on right now?
I've got a couple gigs coming up soon. The closest one is June 26th. That's a Tuesday at the Fun House. I'm opening for Bad Bad Hats. They're a Minneapolis-based indie rock band, and I'm a big fan, and I was so happy that I was able to score that. So that's Tuesday, June 26th, and then a few days later I'll be doing the Acoustic Cafe thing down at Market Square on the 30th with Mark Dingham and the Reckitt's. That's like all ages and free and fun and stuff. And then nothing really else going on between then and Deutschtown.
I don't personally have anything else. Yep. That's right. But you have stuff. You have stuff for sale, music for sale.
Oh, yes.
Tell the kind folks where to find it.
All right. Well, I do have some stuff for sale. Anytime you see me at a gig, my most recent album, Be Good to Yourself, I always have a few on me. They're $10. I also have these great stickers that have a sketch of an Italian greyhound on them that you can like post all over the city. And I have those for sale, or I can also just give them to you. That's what I've got for sale right now.
Awesome. You have a Bandcamp, SoundCloud, anything like that?
Yeah, I've got a Bandcamp. It's lindsaydragan.bandcamp.com, and you can get my album on Bandcamp that way. And I don't have a SoundCloud.
Sweet. Who needs it?
Yeah.
Great. There goes our SoundCloud connections.
I'm Lindsay Dragan, and Mr. Bones knows me.